Scott Turner. I'm the State House Representative for District 21, and I would like to thank the Republican women and for all of you folks for being here this evening, and also for honoring me with the opportunity to serve you. 4 years ago, when I decided to get into the political arena, I did so because I believed that government was broken. And after 4 years of being in the system, I can tell you to some degree I was right. It is broken in some ways, and in some ways it's good. We have, since the beginning, made promises to you in the level of accountability and accessibility. The first one was that I would never take a penny from a lobbyist. The reason for that promise was that I'd be accountable to you. And you would never doubt, not even for a second, that I was representing you and your interest down at the Gold Dome and not the special interest. I've kept that promise. I've not taken a campaign contribution from a lobbyist, nor have I taken any gifts from a lobbyist. I have a zero disclosure for 4 straight sessions in the legislature. During the time that I've been elected, I've also fought for the conservative cause. The American Conservative Union rates me as one of the top 4 most conservative members of the House of Representatives. I've been able to achieve that while also being back-to-back clean water champion by the Georgia Water Coalition. That's not something that's easily done. So I would be honored if you would give me the opportunity to continue to serve you, because I've always viewed this job as not mine, but yours, and I'm just a steward of it. My name is Scott Turner, and I appreciate your vote for House District 21.
My name is Kevin Moore, 47-year-old, father of 4, businessman. I've lived in Cherokee County for about 35 years. I'm a small business owner. I've got a small auto repair shop in Holly Springs. I think I would be a very good candidate, very good representative of this district. Give me your vote. I look forward to going to the Gold Dome and representing the people of this district. I got started with the City of Holly Springs, the DDA board, treasurer, and then been on that for a couple of years, and then the opportunity came for this to be a candidate on this for this district. So I look forward to going down to the Gold Dome and being a good representative for the people of this district. Thank you.
Representative Turner mentioned that there are things broken about our government now. I'm not sure he's referring exactly to the state level, but I know a lot of people feel a bit disenfranchised from what goes on under the Gold Dome. We don't always hear where the bills are. We sometimes feel like we're not being updated enough. What would you do differently, whether you're re-elected or elected, to make sure that the people of the district feel like they have more of a role in our state legislature?
Reverse.
I feel like there needs to be more town hall meetings, more open forums, more gatherings like this to get together with the constituents and the people in your district. I'm always at my shop. If anybody needs to come by and ask me a question about anything going on, I'm always there. I think that would be a good idea. I don't understand what goes on now. Don't see it, so I think more town hall meetings, more open forums would be great.
I would continue what I'm doing. Since I've been elected, we've had at a minimum 4 town hall meetings every year, sometimes more. In the first year, we had 8. When people stopped showing up, we cut it back to 4. We continue to do that. I am available through my cell phone, which I publish in an article that I write weekly or monthly in the Six's Living magazine, as well as it's published, has been published in the Cherokee Ledger. That cell phone is the same one that rings right now. At a town hall meeting in January, I gave it out during the town hall, and somebody called it just to see if it would ring. This is the same cell phone that I carry around for all purposes. One of the other things that I've done, along with some other representatives, is we use technology. We use social media very heavily to keep people informed. Every single vote that I cast gets cast on Twitter. I explain what the bill number is, what the bill does, how I voted, and if I can explain why I do. That's on every single vote that I cast. That kind of accountability doesn't exist with just any state level. With all due respect to Mr. Moore, he hasn't been around much, so I can understand why he hasn't seen it. But I've been in the community. I've been here. Everybody in this room has met me before, or I've shaken your hand along the way. That type of accountability is only created through accountability, is only created through availability. And being available to you is a primary responsibility of this job. So to answer your question directly, I would continue to use technology and social media the way that we have. We continue to have our quarterly town hall meetings, as well as joining Michael Caldwell at his weekly coffees. We always have a great crowd there, and I try to get to those as many as I possibly can. So thank you.
So my next question goes more to how you legislate, I guess would be the best way to put it. You talked about the town hall meetings, you talked about meeting with constituents. One thing that came up in this past session was your civil forfeiture legislation. There was some blowback, for lack of a better term, on that, specifically from local law enforcement officials. My question to you is, when you were writing this legislation, did you consult them, talk with them on the front end? And if so, what were their recommendations, and how did that turn into the brouhaha that it did?
So to answer your question directly, yes. I did speak with DA Wallace before introducing the bill. We had a lengthy discussion about the merits of the legislation. She did let me know that she would be opposing it. I also spoke with members of law enforcement that I trust and have storied careers in law enforcement well before I introduced the legislation. Not everybody shared the opinions of the DA and the sheriff that were reported to the article. And quite frankly, the sentiment from the community was overwhelmingly supportive. I believe there were 3 letters to the editor from 3 people that I never met before that were in support of that bill. 90% of the email feedback that I received for civil asset forfeiture was positive. People offering support. The exception was for the people that disagreed with the policy. And for those that don't know, civil asset forfeiture is a practice in which the government can take your property without charging you with a crime. I think that that's wrong. I think that you should be convicted of that crime before they permanently take possession of it. What the bill would do is say, simply, that in order for them to take permanent possession of your property, they must convict you first. I think that that is one of our founding principles of innocent until proven guilty, and I'll stand in defense of that every single day.
Do you expect to see that legislation again if you were reelected?
Absolutely.
Can you all hear back there from the press's questions? Yes, raise your hand if yes. Good, okay.
And I would just follow up with your opponent. What would your practice be in talking with local law enforcement officials, local educators, local municipalities as it relates to legislation that you might propose if you were to be elected?
Just learn to have a close relationship with them and get their input on specific legislation like that. Through social media, personal phone calls, personal conversations.
And you would also, I'm assuming, be willing to take or disagree with whatever advice they want to give.
Well, yeah, you'd be the voice of what your district wants you to do. I mean, if it's something that the elected officials, your law enforcement say it's a bad idea, then assume that it would be something that wouldn't go over very well. And you have to take advice of professionals on stuff like that.
My question is actually for both of you. What do you think are some of the most pressing issues facing the state, and more specifically the county, and if you're elected or if you get re-elected, what are the first issues that you're going to tackle in the next session?
Which one first?
Who took the bill?
I think some of the most pressing things we see now are transportation and education. Drive around, see anybody driven down Hickory Road lately. I mean, it's awful. Our infrastructure needs to continue to grow with our economy. As it relates to transportation, education, I want to see my children have the same opportunities that I had growing up in Cherokee County. As far as education goes, I think those are some of the main things that needs to be addressed.
I think the economy and jobs is always going to be the most important. Creating an environment where people can compete freely, getting regulation out of the way of our business owners so that they can create jobs and they can keep our economy rolling. I believe we saw a report here locally for the first time in a long time. The unemployment rates ticked up slightly. We need to tackle that head on. We need to make sure that we are specifically trying to work with our local economic development folks to bring jobs here, as well as, really frankly, something we're missing here locally, is creating a business incubator for people to have a resource to come into Cherokee County and not only just live here, but do business here. Over 70%, I believe 73%, according to the latest survey from the Chamber of Commerce, say that folks those 73% leave the county on a daily basis to go to work. I think we're going to tackle our transportation issues. We need to make sure that we're bringing jobs here locally so that people can come to work right here, right where they live.
And what are some things that you would do to ensure that?
So obviously creating an environment, getting regulation out of the way. Some of the things we've already done, so things that we continue to fight against. A great example would be this year we had a piece of legislation before us that I led the charge to kill on the floor of the House that would have created continuing education credits for low voltage workers. These are jobs that they're equivalent to the ditch digger of the IT world. They pull cable, there's no safety threat, but it would have been an unnecessary regulation on small business. Specifically, we look for ways to kill those types of things, clear up red tape for small business owners so that they can continue to grow their businesses here and continue to be the economic engine that they can be.
Ms. Moore, would you add anything?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, we need to get more business here in the county, in this area. This will be the way to go out of it.
Okay. Do you support initiatives to legalize gambling such as pari-mutuel betting and casino gambling in Georgia? And what is your position on gambling in general?
So my position is when you are using your own money, I don't think the government should stand in the way of you using your own money. What I have a problem with is when you ask the taxpayers to subsidize your vice. And everything that I've read, including a report from the University of Illinois about casino gambling specifically, is that for every $1 the state brings in, it costs $3 to subsidize additional services to support that industry. That is a prime example of the state having to subsidize an industry in order for it to be in our community. And for that reason, specifically, I oppose casino gambling and pari-mutuel betting. The pari-mutuel betting proposals that I've seen would be nothing more than a bunch of video machines under the guise of horse racing, but it would really be a video poker type facility. Those are the types of facilities that we see time and again cost more money than they bring into the coffers. So for that reason, I would oppose casino gambling and pari-mutuel betting.
Mr. Moore, is that a question?
I'd like to see more information. I mean, the lottery brings a lot of money into education. We see a lot of, I guess, there are other states that have legalized casino and pari-mutuel betting. So it's where the money will go to, where's it come from, how it would be based on. I would have to see how that would work in my situation.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
I think this is a primary example of the difference in quality of the candidates that people have to choose from here. Somebody that has a grasp of the issue and knows what's going on versus somebody who has to do more research. This is going to go to the heart for this debate, I believe. The point of the matter with casino gambling, every state that has casino gambling that's legal, minus Nevada, it's the only one that's running any type of budget surplus. Every other state that has legalized gambling in their state, they run deficits in their budget. So it doesn't help the budget, it doesn't help the community, it certainly doesn't help spread our values. And therefore, I think we need to very strongly come out against it.
Mr. Moore, do you want to?
Again, I would like to see more information. I mean, if it's structured properly and who knows? Let it go to a public vote, like we local.
I'm going to try to combine two questions into one here. You sparked my interest on something, but we've had the unique opportunity Scott, of running for this office 4 times in the last 3.5 years, due to a variety of circumstances.
That's right,
So
yeah.
you've had a lot of opportunity to talk to the people.
Yes.
The constituents that you've talked to in this district, do they, first of all, do they share your views on what you're talking about in terms of the pari-mutuel betting and the horse racing, firstly? And secondly, obviously, with your own local delegation here, there's some disagreements there. Give us a little bit of inside baseball on how those conversations have developed and why you reached the decision that you have on this issue.
Well, it's specifically because I've done the research on the issue. You're right about me getting in touch with the voters. You know, we've knocked on thousands of doors in the years that I've been in office. We've knocked on several hundred since the campaign started this year. The voice of the people, most people are either neutral or opposed. I don't think you really see in the 21st House District a lot of people super excited about the whole gambling issue. When you explain to them how the activities have to be subsidized using tax dollars from some other source, then it becomes apparent that to most anybody that if they do any amount of research or reading, that it would be bad for our state and our community. So for me, to answer both questions directly, yes, I do believe the majority of the people that I represent would be opposed to specifically casino gambling. And secondly, being researched and knowledgeable about the issues is part of this job, and it's an important part of this job, and I take it very seriously.
I'm assuming you and your Senate counterpart have had a conversation on this issue.
Yes, of course. Senator Beach, obviously, is who you're referring to, is pushing the pari-mutuel, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that later this evening.
All right, okay. And the same question from a public input standpoint. Is that something, the pari-mutuel betting, the horse racing, are you hearing that from your constituents at this point, one way or another?
That's the first I've heard of it. I would say, best thing I would do is just put it to a vote to the people, and let the people decide. To the public vote. I don't understand anything about the details of the bill, where money would come from, where it goes, who would run it, I don't know anything about that. People decide.
So, Cherokee County Code is saying that the lease is on the way to the expansion and repair of our roads. Do you think the state should provide more funding to handle our transportation needs? And, do you support alternate transportation as well, as far as public transportation, or what can be done to improve our transportation in Cherokee?
And if Kevin should be a first on this.
I think public transportation would be great. That's a great idea. As far as funding goes from the state, yes, funding, and I'll,
Speak up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hard time.
yes, as far as public transportation, I think that would be a good idea. As far as more funding from the state, that would be a good idea. If we get more money from the state, it's always good. The infrastructure is just right around, you can see bridges and roads are just in disarray. They all be repaired, and it's only going to get worse. With the expansion of the East Atlanta, from what I understand, it's going to be about 60% more traffic coming through Atlanta. So we've only got that to look forward to. When we start doing something now, it's going to get even worse.
If you recall earlier this evening, we used the stat that over 70% of the county leaves the county in order to go to work. If you've ever seen, again, being in this job for a while, you become knowledgeable of certain facts. If you've ever seen the heat map of where people go to work, it's all over the place. It's everywhere from Peachtree City to Tacoma. When they leave the county, they're going all over North Georgia in order to go to work. When you ask the question alternative or transportation issues or mass transit, I believe is what you're getting at, you can't build enough rail to take people to where they go to work. There's no centralized place where people in Cherokee County go. So I would be opposed to rail for that purpose. It would never pay for itself. It would never be feasible for Cherokee County, and we don't need it. What we do need, and we touch on this again, any part of our transportation solution needs to be bringing businesses and allowing businesses to develop right here so people can work right here. That's going to be a key part of it, but it can't be the only thing. That we do need to widen 140. We do need to take care of 20, and 20 is being obviously taken care of now, thanks to some projects that are already underway or on their way. But to address the point about some of the bridges, a lot of these are county bridges. The Mel's Ferry Bridge is a great example. It's a county bridge. We need to find a way to work with our local governments to make that a priority. That particular bridge has been a problem for so long that school buses can't even go across it. And so making sure that our infrastructure is taken care of in a responsible way is going to be key for our future in Cherokee County.
Well, I've got a handful here, hollering for the night. Okay. So this one will be Scott. We'll start with you on this one first. How can we slow the annexation that is rolling over the Hickory Flat community with density 6 to 10 times that in a county's land use plan, and is choking our roads and schools? Let me repeat it.
No, I got you. I was expecting this question, and I believe Mr. Hubbard was probably the one to vote. The last September, as a constituent of both the county and the city of Holly Springs, I asked Commissioner Ahrens and Mayor Downing to go have lunch with me. And the reason why I did that was because I was really tired of reading about how the city I lived in and the county were suing each other constantly using my tax dollars. I asked them to begin working together to create a better bridge of communication between each other. Any plan to help with our current congested areas and the city's expansion needs to begin with increased communication, and I showed that leadership during that meeting in September. There were a couple of things that came out of that I continue to press for. One of them was a growth boundary agreement for the city. And another thing that I believe that the mayor recently put forward, and I think seriously should be considered by the county, is a temporary 3 to 6 month moratorium on residential only growth, so that the county and the city can get together to address a specific project transportation-wise. The mayor's proposed Hickory Road, because half Hickory Road is in the city and half is in the county. I believe that type of communication and cooperation is necessary in order for us to address the needs of our county. Now, I know that there's been some concern about that particular proposal because there's some fear that it would send out we're not open for business. But we're talking about residential only. We're not talking about all development and all commercial growth. So we can continue to bring in the commercial growth. But I think for the city, to offer that olive branch is a good first step. And I would encourage our county commissioners to continue with it.
That's one reason why I'm wondering the same question. I don't know why it's taking so long to get this done. It seems like it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know what needs to be done, but I'm willing to work with the congressmen and representatives in the state house and get some of this confusion and congestion cleared up.
Got some doozers for you. Not kidding. Well, this one will be for Scott. Define reasonable term limits, and have you introduced this legislation?
First question, second question first. Yes, I've signed on to HR 2, which is a term limits resolution authored by Representative Caldwell. It's the second time I've signed on to that piece of legislation. The first time was HR 5. And what reasonable term limits are 4 consecutive terms. Then you can take time off, and if you want to come back later, you can come back later. But the defined reasonable term limits is 4 consecutive terms for a legislator, 2 years apiece, and then you're done for at least 2 years.
Thank you. And Kevin, this is for you. Which specific pieces of legislation do you disagree with Mr. Turner required? I called you. No. Go ahead.
I really don't have any legislation that I disagree with wholeheartedly. I don't understand all the legislation with the seizure, the right to seizure. On, I need just to read more information about that. Don't have any specific legislation that I disagree with.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is a 3-for-1, and I'm going to start with you first, okay? What are your thoughts on our local schools, testing mandates, and the Opportunity School District? 3 comments.
What do I think of our local schools? I love our local schools. I've got one at Sequoia, one at Dean Rusk. I graduated from Cherokee High School in 1986. I think it was a great high school. I think that we need to get our state to let the county have more control as far as the teachers. We need to have more teachers and less administrators. Need to have more control over the parents and the teachers as far as the curriculum goes.
And testing mandates? Your thoughts on testing mandates?
Testing mandates are tough. I mean, some kids are good test takers, some kids are smart, but not good test takers. It's hard to break it down to how you take a test. But there needs to be some type of standard. But I think the state should have to let the counties have more control over that.
And then lastly, would you comment on Opportunity School District?
Opportunity school.
I have no idea what that is. Anybody?
Don't understand opportunity school.
I'll explain it. You like? Sure. Okay. I'll answer those in 3 if you'd like. First question being, what do I feel about the public
Thoughts
school?
on local schools?
Okay. I absolutely adore the local school system. I have 2 kids in Holly Springs Elementary. My wife, she's not here right now.
All the ladies said it.
Yeah. Well, some of these ladies are going to start nodding their head in a second. And the reason why is because they know what a PTA president goes through. My wife has been PTA president. We are a 2-term PTA president. And yes, we believe in term limits for PTA presidents as well. She's spent 2 years of her life basically treating that as a full-time job, trying to make, she's so invested, and we were invested as a family, frankly, and making Holly Springs the best possible place for kids in our community to go to school. I have great passion for the teachers. I love my principal. I would go to bat for her any day of the week. She's phenomenal at what she does. And they're miracle workers there. Those are my feelings about our local public school system. The second thing about testing mandates is I have 4 testing mandates from the state level. We passed a bill this year that I wish went a lot further as far as reducing testing requirements from the state level down to the local. If it were up to me, I would remove that from the state level. I would take the reins off our local school system and see what they can do without all this state regulation and making sure that our teachers can teach and get the capital out of the way and out of the classroom. That would be my preference. I'm not alone in that, and I'm one voice among many that are starting to push the train in that direction. But it is a train, it is a big push, and we need a lot of help. And then the last thing, the Opportunity School District is something that you get to vote on this November on the ballot. And the question that you'll be able to ask is, should the General Assembly have the authority to take over a school if it's failing? Something along those lines. A chronically failing school. And so sometimes the question becomes, is that a good idea? And for the actual creation of that, for the legislation for that, I voted against the bill that would actually create the standard. And I did it because it would tie us to test scores as a mandate for performance for teachers into the future. And it's something that I want to work against. As far as the ballot question, I believe in the voters, and I believe in giving you that opportunity to vote for it. So I voted to give you that voice. And I want to tell a quick story about that. When it was made, I made it known that I was opposed to this idea. A superintendent from a school in Georgia came to me, South Georgia, came to me and said that she wanted me to vote yes. And I was like, why? You're a superintendent. Why would you want the state to take over your failing schools? And she said she wanted to help. And I said, wouldn't that be embarrassing to you? Wouldn't you have your ego damaged by that? And she said, well, she looked me straight in the eye. And she said, Representative Turner, it's going to hurt my feelings there's a part of me that it's going to hurt me personally, but a long time ago, I gave up my ego to do what was right for those kids. And so, at the end of the day, it was something I struggled with. And I'm not gonna lie, I struggled with it mightily, and Representative Caldwell could probably tell you, because he's my go-to guy when I'm struggling with an issue. But in the end, I decided to let the voters have their voice heard, so that those school children down in South Georgia could have their voice heard. Their parents could have their voice heard.
Start with Scott on this one. Will you support ending giving DACA, D-A-C-A, illegal aliens the same driver's license as foreign legal visitors?
I believe that the intent of that question, if I understand it clearly, is would I support a ban on giving illegal aliens driver's licenses? Linda, would that be a pretty good paraphrase?
I hope so.
Is that a pretty good paraphrase? I'm thinking that was probably your question. Is that right? Is that a good paraphrase?
My question is whether or not you would support the bill that was proposed to pass the House this year that the...
Pass the Senate? SB 6?
SB 6.
Yes.
Okay, so if you could please tell people what it was. I would
Sure.
appreciate it.
So SB 6 was a bill that would prevent illegal aliens from being issued driver's license, and it's a bill that I would support wholeheartedly.
Yes, I would say.
Got another illegal. This time I'm going to start with you. Ready? We have 25% of children in K to 5th grade in our county are either illegal aliens or children of illegal aliens. Since the SCOTUS, which is Supreme Court, decision in Plyer versus Doe, will you support legislation to ascertain the immigration status of all students?
Yes, I think it's very important to get the immigration status.
Would you speak louder than that?
Yes, I think that's important to get the immigration status of all students.
I think it is important to have the immigration status of all students, but I doubt that number. 1 in 4, was it? 1 in 4?
25% of all children in K to 5th
Yeah,
grade.
I'm looking out at some of our school board members who are kind of shaking their head. I doubt the validity of that number. I don't think that that's an accurate number. That being said, I would support verifying residency and citizenship for our students.
This one also. Scott, have you or will you sponsor or support a zero-based state budget? Why or why not?
I think that question was asked this.
Yeah, well, two different candidates. Somebody's persistent.
The short answer is that we have zero-based budgeting in Georgia. It's already passed, and it is law. And we are going through piecemeal every year. A new set of agencies are required to begin their budget process through zero-based budgeting. So yes, I support that, and it is law today.
Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Just yes. Okay, we got another doozer. I have friends that run convenience stores and see the balance on EBT cards. They told me of an illegal alien that had $35,000 on their card. Is this possible? What will you do to stop that?
Excuse me, you misread my handwriting. It was 3,000.
Well, let me redo that. They told me of an illegal alien that had 3,000 on their card. Is this possible? What will you do to stop it?
Me, I don't know if it's possible or not. I think we have a lot of problems with the EBT cards as far as being used for what they're not supposed to be used for. I don't know what kind of reform we have now, but it sounds like it definitely needs to be overhauled or looked at.
My first reaction to that question is, how does somebody who's working as a clerk in a convenience store know that the person across from him is a legal alien? That seems like a premise to me that is faulty on its face. I don't know that somebody would be able to determine the immigration status of somebody just by looking at it. And I don't think that we should be doing that, frankly. Secondly, is it possible that somebody has $3,000? If it is, I would be interested in finding out if there was waste, fraud, or abuse there. I can tell you that in the legislature over the last several years, I've been part of a big push to create accountability through that program. I believe in drug testing for those benefits. I don't believe that we should be incentivizing or subsidizing bad habits for people who are on that type of assistance. I also believe in making sure that those types of products are not used to buy cigarettes or beer or wine or alcohol of any type. Again, I don't believe that it's the role of the government to subsidize those types of things. I've been part of that effort, and I will continue to be.
Thank you. This question is for both of you, and Scott, I'll start with you first. How important is it for your office to have a civil relationship with the speaker?
It is absolutely vital that you can maintain professionalism with everybody, not just the speaker, but to be professional with everybody. The art of this job is making friends permanently and enemies temporarily. And to that end, I think I have a track record in making that happen. A great example of that is I had a guy when I first ran for this office. His name is Dist. He came up and ran and went door to door for my opponent as one of his colleagues in the House. When I got to the House, Delvis and I became friends. Delvis ran for Congress a couple of years ago, and I went down to Glenville, Georgia, to go door to door for him. And that is not something that's just a one-off. When one of my closest friends in the world is a man named Sam Teasley. Sam Teasley gave a rather large contribution to my opponent when I first got elected in this race. I spent Christmas at Sam Teasley's house last year. We are very close. And so it's not just the Speaker of the House, but every single person that you come in contact in this position. Maintaining decorum and being professional is vitally important. And so to that end, that's what I strive to be. If I should fail, I have people that are fully accountable. And that's the goal.
Okay, Kevin?
I think it's extremely important to have good relationship with all the constituents in the House and the Senate. I mean, you've got to work together to compromise, to figure out problems and come up with solutions. So I think it's very important to be working with your fellow representatives and congressmen, and especially the Speaker.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Kevin. Are you in support of the proposed legislation for the county marshal's office having arrest powers? Why? Why not?
I've heard of this. I don't have a lot of information on it. I think that it's important I would have to see the training the marshals have. I would think that if it's better support from the sheriff's office and all the local police officials, that would be with their support. I think that would be okay.
Thank you.
So I was the second signer on the bill that would allow the marshals to have authority. So the answer to your question is yes. I signed the bill. I was one of the sponsors, co-sponsors of that piece of legislation, and I voted for it. So to answer your question directly, yes. As far as why, the marshals perform a great deal of law enforcement roles and responsibilities. They're responsible for helping the tax commissioner transport cash. They're responsible for code enforcement, and they are post-trained and certified officers and have all the responsibilities when they become deputized as other law enforcement officers in our community. They are entitled and should be deserving of the same benefit that any other post-certified police officer has in our state, and that's why I supported that piece of legislation.
Thank you. Scott, I'll start with you. Representative Michael Caldwell has pledged to not accept money or support from lobbyists. Will you make the same pledge?
I have, and I've kept that promise.
That's a short answer. Okay, Kevin, your turn.
I have not accepted any money from any lobbyists, but I cannot pledge that I will not.
Start with Scott. Okay. Last question, folks. Okay, although currently legal, are you in favor of state house representatives taking gifts of material goods from nonprofit groups such as Girl Scouts that may benefit from or desire future legislation? Would you accept such a gift yourself? Want me to repeat it? Oh, you got it.
A gift from the Girl Scouts? I'll take a box of cookies. I mean, there's got to be certain limits on how much you can accept. I mean, if you got to use common sense. I mean, if somebody wants to give you a Lexus so you'll vote Liberal, I mean, that's a big no. But if it's, you got to use common sense. I mean, if it's a small gift from the Girl Scouts, yeah, I mean, I don't see what's any harm in that.
As long as you're mint, right?
That's right.
All right.
I'm a big fan of the Samoa myself. So to answer the question, as far as from my experience, this is what I've done. When a Girl Scout wants to give me a box of cookies because I'm their legislator, I will take that box of cookies and I will catalog it. I will find the MSR, the manufacturer's suggested retail price. If it's $5 in this case, I will take $5 of my own personal money and I will donate it to a charity in the name of my campaign or me or whoever. I don't feel right about taking gifts under any circumstances. So I don't take, if it's a registered lobbyist, I don't take it at all. My admin in my office has been instructed to not allow for anything to hit my desk. There are times when somebody is really pushing, and so like, as an example, our local Chamber of Commerce, who are non-registered lobbyists, came down for Chamber Day. They brought some coasters. Those made their way to my desk. I'm looking up the manufacturer's suggested retail price and donating an equal amount. In the past, I've donated to the Cherokee County Education Foundation with those funds, and in the future, I'll probably give money to my church. That's how I handle those scenarios and situations, but I don't want to also be rude to the person that's trying to give me something. If it's a pen or a compass, it was my favorite thing that I've seen. It was very interesting. But what I'll do is take it and give it to charity, as well as match those funds to a charity as well. If it's a food item that hits my desk in the chamber, there is one member that's dedicated on our row to taking that and donating it to a food bank. I will still give money to a private charity in addition.
Let her read this, but we're not sure this was said,
Okay.
and it's questioning something one of you said. So,
Here we
she's
go.
going to read it, and then that's our last one, and we'll take a break.
Who did I start on? You. Okay. So Scott, and you're the first victim on this one. You voiced your support to oppose illegal alien children to enroll in school. How do you justify this position when those illegal alien children will grow up uneducated and become criminals and welfare recipients? Okay.
I disagree with the premise of the question, and I think that's all I'm going to answer.
Pardon me?
I disagree with the premise of the question. I don't believe. Yeah.
How about you?
Will you read it again?
Yeah, sure, why not? You voiced your support to oppose illegal alien children to enroll in school. How do you justify this position when those illegal alien children will grow up uneducated and become criminals and welfare recipients?
That's a far-fetched story, but I didn't say that I opposed. I just said they need to be documented or those illegal children from inner schools. But yeah, I think I'm just going to that's got way too many leads in it.
Okay.
I just agree to disagree.
Okay, let's see. Scott, you opened on closing, you were number one on opening, so Kevin, you're number one on closing.
I just would like to see my children grow up here in Cherokee County with the same opportunities that I had. I think we need to have some improvements on transportation and education. I think I would be a great representative of my district. I think you can all trust me to do the right thing. You can just give me a chance. Appreciate all your time. Thank you.
I think tonight we've seen a demonstrated difference in the quality of the candidates you have to choose from for House District 21. I'm prepared, I'm ready, I'm experienced. I've been in the battle. Whenever the governor signs a bill into law, he uses one of these pens. It has a signature on it. I have a whole stack of these pens. This one specifically was used to sign the strongest anti-Obamacare bill in the law that any state in the union has passed. I was part of the team of legislators that got that bill passed in the law. That's what this pen was for. But I also have a pen for getting a bill, helping a bill get passed that allows special needs parents to get the education or get the information that they need to make the best decision for their kids at the appropriate time. I've got one of these pens for helping pass the legislation to allow our medical refugees in Colorado to come home, and so that children with seizure disorders can be treated right here in Georgia. I got one of these pens for helping pass a piece of legislation that will make sure that children with autism have access to health insurance. I've got a lot of these pens because I've been an effective voice and a conservative leader in the Georgia House of Representatives. But being a good Republican is not just about what you get passed. It's also what you fight against. And as your representative, I have fought against overregulation on small business. I fought against and killed legislation on the floor of the House that limited local control. And I fought to keep the government out of your life at every opportunity and in defense of the Constitution of our state and our nation. I would be honored to continue that fight for you. And I'm asking for your vote. My name is Scott Turner. Please vote for me, House District 21, on May 24th.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.